Hello, my friends. This is the podcast that brings the wealth of knowledge, expertise, and fun of Twin Smoke Shop, New England's premier smoke shop, right to you, wherever you are, whenever you want it. And that's not just blowing smoke. You can find us at our website, notjustblowingsmoke.com, and be sure to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Not Just Blowing Smoke.
Cool breeze in my head, bittersweet smoke flying through the air. It's the way I feel, smoking on fire.
All right, everybody, that was Jeff Pitchell's Fat Cigar you've been listening to, and that means it's time for Not Just Blowing Smoke, the podcast that brings a wealth of knowledge, fun, and expertise of Twin Smoke Shop, New England's premier smoke shop, right to you, wherever you are, whenever you want it. And that's Not Just Blowing Smoke, people. You can find us on our website, notjustblowingsmoke.com, and follow us on Facebook as well as YouTube, Twitter, and Instagram at Not Just Blowing Smoke. And please be sure to follow us on Podbean, Spotify, iTunes, Google, basically wherever you get your podcast from, so that you make sure you don't ever miss a thing. I'm Pastor Padron. I'm here with my fellow co-hosts, Paul, Nick, and Dave. And we've got Sam the Barman. Sam Van Winkle has joined the podcast
back in
again.
action finally here.
And it's awesome. Glad to have you
Bars
here.
are open.
Thank God.
How was that 3 months of hibernation, Sam?
I loved it, honestly. Best couple of months of my life. My mental health is through the roof.
Did you sleep most of it?
I certainly did.
God bless you.
It was good for me.
You
I
woke up
loved it.
just in time for our podcast. We're very grateful. And what we are smoking first tonight for our cigar is the Tatuaje TAA 2020. They have been, Tatuaje has been making a special cigar for the Tobacco Association of America, for the last 10 years. This is their 10th one, and it is a Sumatra wrapper over Nicaraguan binder and filler. It's a Toro size, 5 5/8 by 54, and we are pairing this with a what, Sam?
I'm going to call it a chocolate Manhattan. Basically, I took Knob Creek 100 proof and your standard assortment of vermouth, so 3/4 ounce of sweet vermouth, 1/2 ounce of blanc vermouth, and then I used chocolate bitters as the bitters of choice in this instead of your normal Angostura and Peychauds. Gives it a little bit of a deeper, darker, savory, chocolatey kind of approach. I think that's going to go real well with this cigar, and so far I think it is, as a matter of fact.
Nice. Paul, what do you think so far of the cigar and the pairing?
The drink, Sam, is actually really, really good. I've never been a fan of Manhattans, but since we've been doing this here on the podcast, we've had a couple of different Manhattan variations, and all of them have been excellent. This one,
Glad to hear it.
nice little sweetness, just a little bit of the bitters. I can actually pick up the chocolate.
Right at the end there, you get some
Usually
of
I have a hard time picking up some of these chocolate notes and some of these creations that you and Kendra have been making. But
right, fair
yeah,
enough.
this is really good.
Good, glad to hear it.
And the cigar, now we all know the TAAs have primarily been the Connecticut broadleaf Rosado Oscuro wrappers.
Correct.
Except for the 2013. This one is a newer version with the Sumatra wrapper. I'm picking up some nice light spice, some earth, a little bit of sweetness. The retrohale is off the bat. Right off the bat has actually been really rich.
Damn.
So far so good.
Nick, what's your take so far?
Well, I'm going to go with the cigar first.
That's okay.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate it. It's better the second time around. I had the cigar when we first brought it in.
Yeah.
2 weeks now?
2 weeks ago, yeah.
2 weeks ago. And I don't know if it was just because it was fresh out of the box. I didn't get some of the...
Or because you hadn't been drinking.
That's also true, too. It wasn't as vibrant with the flavors. Vibrant.
Oh, vibrant.
What was that about drinking?
It wasn't as viral back then as it is now.
When I had it first right out of the box, it was... I thought it was a little flat. I did get some of the woody notes in there, some spice,
Sure.
but I wasn't really kind of head over heels for the cigar. I was excited about it, but when I started smoking, I was a little disappointed, to say the least.
Okay.
But now that's been sitting for another 2 weeks. It's really nice. It comes alive, especially with the chocolate Manhattan. I love Manhattans. This is another variation of it that I absolutely love. And they really coincide with each other. They play back and forth. One doesn't overpower each other. So far, so good.
Okay. Is there a cocktail that you really don't like?
Is there a cigar you really don't like?
I've had martinis,
Martinis,
Jaeger bombs, which
Jaeger
is
bombs?
not really a cocktail, right?
No.
That's more of a
It's
shooter.
Shot.
I wouldn't count it, but
That goes
Yeah,
back
Purple
years.
Nurple.
I've had
Ugh.
Grand Marnier, everything.
Well, Grand Marnier isn't a cocktail.
Well, no, I mean like Grand Marnier.
very astute.
Yeah, right. In a cocktail, and I love it all. I am a student of the alcohol.
Okay, just wanted to make that clear to our listening audience. Dave, what about you? What are you thinking of the cigar and the pairing so far?
Well, this is the first time I've had the TAA, and I'm definitely getting a lot of earth. The retrohale is like a spice bomb. The pairing, the drink is like I'm getting some of that chocolate notes, but there's like
Some of that chocolate notes.
some of that chocolate, and I don't know. I'm not a big fan of the drink. Sorry, Sam, but
We've all got different tastes.
The,
It's not, doesn't reflect on me.
Would you rather have a Sam Adams?
It definitely doesn't.
This would go great with a Sam Summer.
everything goes great with Sam Adams. But besides that, no, I'd actually like to have some Four Roses with this.
Oh, interesting.
Like
Four
a-
Roses is a good bourbon.
It is.
That's a good bourbon.
Very
Man,
good.
you have really come along in the last 6 months, 8 months.
You
That
guys
we've
have
been doing
spoiled me. It was really the turning point. I think was the Glenfiddich. So
That was a spoil
That
for us all.
21-year-old
This.
Yeah,
Yeah, we're
right.
kidding. Yeah, we're not.
Yeah.
We're all not over that one yet.
I'm still saving. I'm still saving my pennies in my savings account, so we can get a bottle at some point in time. Maybe for our grand opening for the store. Celebrate.
Reopening, you mean?
grand reopening.
Well, a grand
or maybe
reopening.
for our 1 year anniversary,
Yeah, I think the 1 year anniversary of the
Yeah,
podcast
we
would
could
be
do something
perfect.
like that.
Good one.
which is
Good one, Dave.
coming up
August.
soon.
End of August.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Sam, how do you think the cigar is going with your drink? How one of the things that's been interesting with Kendra when she's been on the show is that sometimes she's not so much a cigar smoker, but she knows her alcohol really well. That's why she's here, and she may not be able to describe totally everything that she's getting in the cigar, but she can talk a lot about how it's making her enjoy or not enjoy what she's drinking with it.
Right. Sure,
What's going on with you?
So for me, I think this is true for me fairly often because my palate for alcohol, much like Nick's, favors the alcohol quite a bit. I don't like drinks that are too sweet. I don't like drinks that have too many ingredients that you can't taste exactly what's going on or that you can't taste the alcohol. So if I had to retry this real quick, I think I would have nixed the orange peel. I think the little bit of citrus is pulling away from the chocolate just a little bit.
Right?
Yeah.
The advantage on the other end of that is I think it's getting a little bit more saliva production out of that little bit of sweetness, which is helpful. But at the same time, I think we could get that effect while still having the sort of more chocolatey savory.
That's
approach.
interesting, though, because one of the things about tobacco is that it slows down saliva production.
Mm-hmm.
So to have the
Not with me,
orange
but
peel
yeah.
in there that increases, it may help you to actually continue tasting more regularly if
Throughout
if
your
it's
smoke.
averaging itself out.
Right, of course. Always if it's
that
averaging.
I don't know, but
Yeah, or if cigars make you salivate like Nick over here, of course,
Yeah.
then
Yep.
you're screwed anyway.
yeah.
That's
why-
I can't have a dry tip of a cigar. It's just usually it's like by the time I get down to here, this whole part, the top inch is like soaked.
That's disgusting, Dave. I wouldn't have shared that online.
Well, I can't stop it. I'm sorry.
No.
You're welcome.
I get a lot of nice woody notes with this. Maybe some light coffee kind of notes. But one of the things that comes across for me is a little bit of caramel. Anybody else pick that up?
Some
like
caramel.
a caramel kind
I
of
don't.
sweetness?
I don't get the caramel. I definitely
that
get.
doesn't surprise me with you, Nick.
I definitely get the spice and the wood and earthiness in there. Maybe a little bit of espresso in there. Maybe a little coffee, but not the caramel.
There's a little
for
bit
me,
of caramel-like sweetness for me.
For you, yeah. For me,
think
it
that's
doesn't
the
really
drink.
go that far.
For me, who actually
I
has
think there's a
palate,
little bit of a...
Yeah.
I think the orange and the chocolate is kind of doing like a little caramel thing. That's what I think.
Yeah, I now the drink for me is pairing very well with the cigar. The chocolate bitters are really kind of bringing out the sweetness in this cigar, the earthiness, and is really plays well with the woody notes, and maybe a little bit of leather in here too that's going on. And I'm really digging how it's going. It's a very nice pairing.
Good. Glad to hear it.
So, here at Twins, we know it's different for everybody in different parts of the country, but we're now able to be open for retail
Hell
business. People can come into the shop. You have to wear a mask if you got it, and but you can come in and pick out your cigars. So we're still doing curbside for people who want it, and there are people who are still taking advantage of that, but you can come in, pick out your cigars. That's a whole big thing. And also, we have been able to open up for outside service for the bar, the 724 Lounge.
Yeah.
So we have a big deck. We're fortunate. We have a big deck on the outside of our lounge. And the state opened up for outdoor service. We're already geared for that.
Yep.
And then we took a huge tent and put that up in our back parking lot. So we kind of doubled the amount of space that we were able to have outside. And both of those together, still are well below what our inside capacity is. We were, we're all set as far as that goes, what parameters the state had set for us to be open. So the one caveat is, along with every other bar and restaurant in the state, is the outdoor service is available, but it is by reservation only. So what you need to do is you need to call Twins, which the number is 603-421, right?
0242.
0242, and then hit extension 3. That'll bring you up to the bar. And then
I'm awaiting your call out there.
you leave your name, a number we can get you back at, and the day and time that you would like the reservation for. And we're doing them in 2-hour blocks. What?
Number of people on the reservation.
Yes, and the number of people. The maximum number of people at a table is 6 right now. And again, that is a state limit right now. But, today was the first day. This is, Monday the 18th when we're recording this, and that went really, really well. It was, things kind of ramped up during the day, and by 6 o'clock, things were packed. And so make sure you call ahead and reserve your spot. And again, your name, your number, the time you want, and the number of people that you want, up to a maximum of 6. And if the space you asked for is not quite available or not available, we'll call you back. We'll work it out so that you can get here. But we're really excited to be open for that. You can stay in touch with Twin Smoke Shop on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and at our website, twinsmokeshop.com. For me, so far, the cigar is not changing all that much as I continue to smoke it. I'm only about an inch in. Dave, you started smoking before the show really started, so you're a little bit further along. I don't know where other people are at, an inch and a half in. What are the what's the kind of flavor profile you're getting now, Nick, on your cigar?
I'm getting a lot of tobacco notes.
A lot of tobacco notes. I don't know why. It's not really changing. The only thing that is maybe a little bit other changes. I'm getting a little bit more sweetness, a little bit more spice alongside with the drink itself.
Do you think the drink is bringing that out, or do you think it's
think-
a cigar?
No, I don't know. I'm trying to smoke the cigar without taking a sip of the drink, which is extremely difficult for me.
Yes.
Man,
So
so
that takes willpower, Nick. I'm
a
proud
lot
of
of
you.
discipline.
Yeah.
Lot of discipline. I've been practicing at home.
Really?
I have, yes. I usually try to get through a
Wife's
quarter
cut
of
you
the
off, huh?
a quarter of the way through the cigar before taking a big gulp of alcohol. So I guess the spice and the sweetness is kind of vamping up a little bit now that I'm about almost halfway through the cigar. So it's not,
You're halfway through already?
yeah, about halfway through.
Power
So
smoker.
I'm a little bit of a power smoker. So, but
Uh-huh.
it's nice. It's you get a lot. You don't get any other nuances of the earth or the woodiness. Just the sweet spice that's coming through a lot more.
Sam, what about yourself? Are things changing for you? Are you feeling like your drink pairs a little bit better or worse at this point, or what are you thinking?
I'm enjoying the drink. Excuse me. I'm enjoying the drink. Yes, thank you. Yeah, I'm the long-term
Hibernation
smoker
sickness.
here. I am enjoying the drink a little bit more. Maybe I'm thinking probably there was a little bit more citrus sitting on top. The oil sitting on top, so it's pulling off a little bit now. And then since you mentioned that you're getting that bit of leather in the smoke, it is definitely coming through for me. Probably you told me to look for it, and I'm now really starting to see it. But I'm getting that sort of mouth feel of leather, that sort of back of the mouth, not quite dryness, but that sort of. It's the mouth feel of the smell of leather. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yep.
Right.
Yep.
It's good. I'm enjoying it so far.
This
I really
cigar
am.
is silky smooth. It's silky in the hand. The wrapper is so...
That's the other thing. It is pulling about as well of any
It's like a
cigar I've
little
ever
cat
smoked.
nose.
It's like a cat's nose.
Yeah, soft and velvety.
I never heard that type of analogy before for a cigar.
This cigar reminds me of my
Words?
cat Pepper. It reminds me of Pepper's nose. It's not really damp, but it's just kind of wet to the touch. You know what I mean?
Yeah, see, you nailed it.
Brotherly love.
Paul, what about you?
So this is my second time smoking this cigar, just like Nick, and also like Nick, I was a little bit underwhelmed the first time I had this.
Right.
I guess maybe I had some preconceived notions of what the Tatuaje should smoke like. Tatuaje,
Tomato.
Yaga.
Tat.
But again, we've talked about that most Tatuaje TAAs come with the Connecticut broadleaf wrapper. So, and again, I've smoked enough Sumatra wrappers to get an idea of what it should smoke like. So the first time was a little bit underwhelming. I thought it was a little lighter in the flavor complex. But with the drink, I'm actually pulling out a lot more of the chocolate notes as I'm getting into it. So that's very, very pleasing. As it's pairing with the cigar, I'm pulling out a little bit more of the earthy wood tones. I am getting the leather. The spice, specifically on the retrohale, has really smoothed out. Really smoothed out. It's a little bit more, I don't want to call it full-blown in the beginning, but it was a lot of rich spice there. Now it's pared down. So this is becoming a lot more pleasurable for my second time.
Would you say this is a medium-bodied?
Medium body. Yep.
Straight on medium.
Yep.
I'm thinking.
Yep.
Right? Dave, what about you? How have things been changing for you as you're now at least halfway done with the cigar?
My retrohale has calmed down a bit. It's not so spicy, but still spicy.
Do you think it's just because your nose is burned out? Or
No.
do you think it's really calmed down?
I think it's really calmed down. I'm also definitely getting a lot more of the cocoa notes.
Now, is that from the drink or just from the cigar?
That's definitely from the cigar.
How do you know?
Because I'm trying to block the drink out of my head. I'm not really liking it. But it's making the cigar taste better.
The powers of my mind.
Yes.
I can block the drink out.
Yeah. Yep, selective tasting, I suppose. I don't like selective viewing.
You're good at that one too. But.
Yes, I am master actually.
There is, I think, some light cocoa, and maybe that gets back to the caramel. I kind of pick up from it. There's this nice, gentle sweetness in the background of this.
Yeah.
And I think that's from the Sumatra wrapper.
Yeah.
It's really very, very nice. It is such a smooth, creamy cigar. It's very pleasant. It's not like the other Tatuaje TAAs.
No.
It's not the medium plus, or, you really generally, I think, expect Tatuaje to be bolder than this cigar is.
Yeah.
And this cigar is much smoother, and the flavors are more nuanced.
Yeah.
And that's not normally what you expect from Tatuaje, let alone their TAA line.
I think I'd like to try this cigar in like 5 years, see where it's at.
I was just thinking the same thing too, Dave. I said if this sits for a while, it's definitely going to open up a little bit more.
Well, it's interesting. We smoked these when they just came in, kind of off the truck.
Yep. And
we're like, meh. And now, after it's sat for a couple of weeks, and a lot of times, that's especially if I get cigars through the mail, which is really more often. I really don't use mail order stuff that much. It's one thing to have stuff sent from a tobacconist store like Twins, where that the cigars have been cared for properly and they're sent for you. It's another thing to do a whole mail order based.
You don't know what
thing.
warehouse is like,
but 99% of the times when I get cigars in the mail, they're being sent to me from a friend, right? And when I get them, I don't know what they've been through, how long they've been on the truck or whatever. I let them sit in my humidor for a minimum of 2 weeks before I light them up, because you want them to kind of settle down, get properly humidified, and I wonder if that's the case with this, that once it had the time to sit and kind of reacclimate and get used to the environment, that maybe the cigar is performing better. What do you guys think? Do you think that may be the case, or are you just, now that you're kind of knowing what you expect, that you're enjoying it more?
I think letting him sit for a little bit helps. Absolutely. Like you say, it comes off the truck. Again, we don't know how long it's been sitting in the Postal Service or UPS or whatever. A lot of times you have to let him, get some humidification in there before you really start enjoying it. So it could very well be that the first time we had it, which was, like I said, a couple of weeks ago when we first received it, it may not have been the right time. But I do agree this is a lot better today. But I'm certainly going to go back to the pairing, because I think the pairing is certainly bringing out a lot more of the flavors that otherwise you wouldn't be experiencing on its own.
Nick, what about
Thank
you?
you, Sam.
What do you think? Do
I
you
agree
or disagree?
No, I agree. I think when they're coming off of when they're getting shipped, you have that time gap that they're being handled by UPS, and they're outside of humidification, and then when they come in, I believe they have to sit and they have to settle a little bit and get used to the environment. Kind of open up a little bit, and it was probably shame on me that I grabbed it right out of the box. Wasn't even in the humidor, just grabbed it, paid for it, and started smoking it. And I was excited because I really like Tatuaje cigars, their whole line. And when they come out with a specialty cigar like this, it's supposed to be, above the rest. And when I smoked it, I was a little disappointed. I was like, wow, this is kind of flat. You did get a little bit of the sweetness, the woodiness and stuff, and I was like, wow, I'm like, I don't know if I'd go back to this. And then when you said that we were going to have it on the show, I was like, well, we'll see how it goes this time. And it definitely is. I think it's a different cigar all in its own. And then with the pairings bring out a little bit more flavor. You get a lot more nuances. You go back and forth, and it's a really good combo. And definitely, like I said, you don't know what you're getting when you're doing mail order stuff.
Right.
You know what I mean? And, if you're ordering it from Twins, we have it in controlled humidity. And it's going to be good when you get it. So, yeah, I think it's that time from when it comes from the factory to the shop. You got to let them sit. You got to, just let them relax a little bit. Right. Let them open up.
That's a great segue into what my cigar confession is this week, and that is the importance of giving cigars a second chance. And a lot of times when something new comes in, we smoke it. Sometimes, and this was a great example, we were expecting one thing and got something completely different. And when you're in that mindset, you might not really be able to appreciate the cigar for what it is. And, so it's always good to try a new cigar at least twice. They're also a perishable product. You might get something that's a little bit off. It's a handmade thing. It might be a little bit off. Always give a cigar a couple of tries before you make a final recommendation or discernment whether or not the cigar is of your taste or not. I think we've all kind of confessed a little bit that other than Dave, this is the first time he's had it, that this cigar doesn't really fit your typical Tatuaje profile. And if you're looking for that when you smoke this, you're going to be kind of surprised, taken aback, put down, disappointed. But if you look at the cigar just as a cigar on its own, and you judge it that way, it's amazing how things can change. And then there was also the aspect that we talked about, that right off the truck, a cigar may taste very different than after it's had a time to acclimate again to the humidor after a couple of weeks. Another reason you might want to give a cigar a couple of chances. And I'd like to hear from everybody here what, what's your take on that? Do you agree with that? Do you disagree with that? What's been your experience with that? And to give you guys a little bit more time to think, I'll tell you a little story. One of my all-time favorite cigars, and I've said it here on the show, is the Byron Gran Poema in the white box. It's a fantastic cigar. It's aged for 5 years before it even comes to the retailer. It's an unbelievable cigar. And several years ago, a new size of Byron came out, and the Aristocrates, I think it's called, is the cigar I'm referring to. And I smoked that, and I thought it was going to be the next move up from the Gran Poema, and it wasn't. It was a completely different tasting cigar, completely different flavors, and I was very disappointed the first time I had it. And I kind of voiced my disappointment, and I was told and reminded that Nelson Alfonso, who makes those cigars, does not make each Byron to be the same blend. Each size is its own thing. There's not necessarily any commonality between one Byron and the next. It's its own thing. And so you need to look at it like it's its own cigar. Don't compare it to one or the other, but as this, what do you think? And the second time I had it, I enjoyed it a whole lot more because my mindset was very different. I kind of blanked myself out and said, okay, I'm going to just sit back and think, this is a cigar. What do I think about it? And instead of comparing it to the previous one, judge it on its own merits. What were its flavors? What were its nuances? What were its... And I enjoyed it a whole lot more. And, you know, I realized that in a way I was kind of smoking the band, you know, the first time I had it. And I had these preset expectations in my head as to what it was supposed to be, when that wasn't what it was designed to be. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So how might this cigar kind of fit that? What are your experiences with that as far as the necessity of giving a cigar more than one go before you make a final decision on whether that cigar is something that's worth it for you?
Yeah, I mean, I won't come out and say what cigar I had. I'll just say that at one point I had a cigar that I really, really enjoy, and I don't know if it was something I had eaten or drank prior to actually smoking that cigar, but I remember sitting down and really just sitting down and having that cigar, and it just tasted different. It actually was almost unenjoyable. And I really had to think about what did I do wrong here? You know, I mean, is it something that I ate or drank? And I figured out that it was something that I had eaten prior to it that may have dulled my palate, so that I couldn't pick up the normal flavors that I really enjoyed from that cigar. And so basically I just did a palate cleansing the next time, made sure I had a nice clean palate, and that cigar just opened right up again. So a lot of times, if you're having a cigar for the first time and you may have eaten or drank something that wouldn't normally open up your palate, so that you could really expose them to those flavors, that can be very off-putting to you. So it could be something that you could simply change, or just make sure you have a nice clean palate when you're getting ready to enjoy that cigar, or make sure you have a really good pairing. Yeah, you know, maybe I'm a big beer drinker. Yeah. So beers generally, for the most part, might not be a great pairing for a lot of the cigars we enjoy. Right. And at least the cigars that I enjoy. So I have to really kind of focus on what kind of pairing. If I'm going to have something to drink, I'm going to make sure it's actually going to go really well with that cigar. Mm-hmm.
Nick, what about you?
Well, for me, it would probably have to play with probably the strength level for me in the beginning, where I would have one cigar and it would be too strong or too much flavor, and I'd be like, okay, I'm done with the cigar. I can't do it anymore. And then I would give it another chance and maybe have it with a drink pairing or a beer or some bourbon, single malt, you know, a heavier scotch or something like that, and it would come alive a little bit more. So for me, when I'm smoking cigars, especially heavy cigars, Tatuaje, Double Ajero, LFDs and stuff like that, I can't really smoke that on its own. I have to have it with a pairing. Smoking it on its own for me is just, it's not, I could smoke it, but it's not going to be a really enjoyable experience for me. So I have to kind of step back and be like, okay, what did I do wrong here? Like Paul was saying, you know, do I need to cleanse my palate? Do I need to have that at the end of the night? Do I need to have that in the morning after the gym? So I got to kind of, you know, compare and contrast. And a lot of stuff for me, I would have to have a stronger cigar for me. I would have to have it with a bourbon or a scotch to really kind of open it up, really enjoy it. And then I would have, like, in the morning, I would switch it up and have, you know, a Connecticut or a Cameroon wrapper or something like that in the morning, where it's not going to be as harsh. I could have it with a coffee. I could have it with, you know, a glass of water or anything like that, or even a morning scotch. Gotta have a morning scotch.
Why am I not surprised?
You shouldn't be.
Dave, do you have anything to say to this? You're the newest to cigar smoking here.
Yeah, I have to say one of the biggest things that I've learned since I've been here is how drastically a cigar can change with what you're drinking. It's amazing. Like when we did the chocolate episode, that was just, who'd have thought that candy would have a huge effect on like what you're smoking, or the scotches and the whiskeys,
The Mountain Dews.
yeah, the Mountain Dew Coronas. You know, that was don't drink Corona with a cigar. It's amazing what you can get, and sometimes what you don't get from a cigar based on what you're drinking. And that's all the more reason to try something more than once. Because if you didn't like it with this, try it with something else. It could be a totally different experience.
Now, Sam, I bet you could say the same thing about alcohol.
Oh, about booze, yes. Exactly where I was going to go.
Yeah.
Always try drinks more than once. The first time I had a Manhattan, I hated it. The first time I had a beer, I hated it. It tastes like soap. It's an acquired taste. It takes time for your palate to understand what you're going to enjoy about these flavors. It doesn't just hit you instantaneously. You know, it's not all just like eating chocolate for the first time. It takes time for your body to understand what you're tasting and how it interacts with other things that you're tasting. And even more so with booze, you can go from one bartender to another who changes things by 1/4 of an ounce with one of the 5 ingredients, and it turns it into a whole different party. You know, I mean, it can be totally different. And then it pairs jumps just as well over to food. You don't like this cocktail. Did you eat a onion heavy salad right before it?
Right.
That could have something to do with it. Or did you have something that dulled your palate? Did you have something that spiked it so all you could taste was the sweetness? There's a lot of chemistry going on there.
Yes.
That pushes your palate in different directions. So it's constantly a game, and these guys totally nailed it. Try things with things you like, try things with nothing, and then try things with something new, because you'll never know which one of those 3 slots. All of a sudden you'll go, this is it. This is my drink. This is this is what I want. This is exactly what I need.
Now,
Awesome.
You bring up a good point. Do you have certain drinks that you make that clients only want you to make for them?
Absolutely.
Versus Kendra or Bree or Lisa?
Yeah,
Mandy.
absolutely. Right? I mean, a perfect example, though. Dan's wife. She absolutely loves a cocktail that I make. It's one that I brought here with me. I mean, it's an existing cocktail, but one that they weren't familiar with before I got here. We figured it out. She tasted one, and that was it. That was the end of the game. She took 2 sips, and it was
What
it was
cocktail
over.
was it?
That's the Hotel Nacional. You'd like it too. Pineapple and rum.
Yeah.
It's
Have a lot
Does
of
it
that.
have
booze in it.
rum?
I would like
Come
it.
on,
You're right.
be honest, Nick. You didn't have to
Does
think
it
about
have-
it. You
It's
just
like
did it.
rum punch from Puerto Rico. All right.
Does it
okay.
have scotch? I think I would like it.
Oh,
Does it
yeah.
have alcohol?
It's got moonshine in it? Oh, yeah. I'm all day. I'm good all day. Here we go.
And that's a pretty common thing with your bartenders and your clientele. And so in a lot of ways, really, it's a good thing. As long as you and your other bartenders are on the same page, and you know, generally speaking, that all of your drinks are going to come out balanced. They're going to come out of quality, right? Then you can get to a point where I used to, at my last bar, me and my number 2, Tyler, made most of our basic drinks, our Manhattans, our Old Fashions, our lemon drops, our, Tom Collins, that kind of stuff. We made them differently. Normally, generally speaking, that's not the best thing. You don't want to sit on one side of the bar and get Sam's and then sit on the other side of the bar and get the other.
Right.
But Tyler and I talk about it a lot, and we talk to our customers about that. So anytime you sit down, it's like, oh, actually, you want Sam's Tom Collins, and we know what questions to ask. We know which direction to go. What are you having to eat this evening? I think this one is going to be just right for you. And it allowed us to have a little bit of variation, literally within one single bar, in how these drinks are being made and how they taste for individual people. And that's really amazing to be able to do with just a minor change of 1/4 ounce of an ingredient here or there, or whatever it is.
No, it's so true.
Mm-hmm.
So true.
And it's honestly what makes it fun from my end is that my best drink, the best drink I've ever made, in my whatever it is, made it perfectly, and this person says, it's just not right for me. Great, let's try again, because there's got to be another mix out there that's also really good that's going to be just right for you.
Right.
That's where the creativity comes in for me, and it gets fun.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. What's our final verdict here on the 2020 rendition of the Tatuaje TAA?
I was going to add a quick flavor that I'm getting.
Yeah.
And it's feel free to call me out if I'm totally crazy here, but on these last 10 or 15 good puffs, I've gotten a little bit of sweet onion. Maybe Vidalia, or like it's very periphery, it's very out on the edges, but it changes from a little bit of a sweetness to a little bit of a savory out on the edge, and it almost tastes like onion to me.
Like a green onion.
Right, you know what I mean? Where it's
Scallion
never
onion.
strong or spicy by any means, but it goes from savory to sweet just ever so slightly.
I can dig that. Nick, what's your final thoughts on this?
It was better than the first time around, I'll tell you that.
Better than the first time.
It was. If we would have took this back to when we got it, I probably would have gave it a bad review. I was not happy with it the first time. It was, like I said, I got a little bit of flavor out of it. And it wasn't what I expected from Tatuaje at the time.
Now, do you think the fact that you're enjoying it more is more because the cigars had a chance to sit and reacclimate, and maybe it's a combination of the two, do you think it's because now that you know what the cigar is supposed to be, that maybe, and so that you knew what more to expect, that you enjoyed the cigar as it was more?
Probably that it sat. Because I had expectations of it, and I was like, I don't think this is gonna go well for me. But it opened up, and it became another cigar just by sitting the couple of weeks. You know what I mean? And maybe it has to do with the cocktail. I'm gonna have to smoke the cigar with maybe a single malt, or maybe some moonshine, or something, and see how that goes. You know what I mean? It might go a totally different way for me with another cocktail. If we're drinking chocolate, we're drinking chocolate Manhattans technically. What if it doesn't taste well with an old fashioned? I'm a big old fashioned guy. You know what I mean? What if I?
There are lots of those available here at the bar. Yeah.
Right. Exactly. You know what I
made
mean? We make 20 different other Manhattans and
That's
old
like a whole
fashions.
box worth of Tatuaje.
Right.
You've
Exactly.
got a lot of smoking.
I got a lot of smoking to do. So with this combination of the pairing, it's a fantastic smoke.
So you like the pairing and the cigar?
I like the cigar how it is. I finished my drink, which is not a surprise.
Not at all.
No, not at all.
It wasn't a full 3 ounces. It's
Right,
not like you're
it's
ahead
okay.
of time here.
But the cigar on its own is a lot better than it was before when I first had it. So I'm very happy that we're smoking this now.
Now, Sam, how do you think the pairing went for you? How did the cigar that did it add to your drink, subtract from your drink? How do you think you did?
Pretty well. So I'm not the biggest cigar smoker around. We all know that. I'm liquor focused in general. That's why I was hired. But I enjoy the act of smoking. I always have. And I'm not offended by any of it. Like my palate is, it's never offended by it. But some cigars, obviously on the spectrum, get to the point where they're a little bit intense on me, for sure. They tire my palate out. And this I haven't had a single issue with. This, it feels really smooth. There's no sort of fatigue that I'm getting from it. There's no like total dryness. I've had a little bit of a cocktail and a little bit of water, but that's pretty normal.
Yep.
So for me, as a novice smoker, I'm thinking this is probably right up the right alley. I'm getting the difficulty of some sort of deeper, darker notes, but I'm also getting the medium body and the easy pull. So it's a good introductory for me, I would think.
Well, and that's one of the things I like about this cigar. Anybody could smoke it. This is not a cigar that you could, that if you were wanting to try something different, but you were more of a light cigar smoker or a occasional cigar smoker, you could smoke this and enjoy it.
That's exactly what I'm doing right now. That's a very good way to put it.
And if you were somebody who's more of a medium to full bodied, like Nick or Paul, myself, even Dave here, it's still a cigar you can enjoy. There's enough going on in it that you can enjoy it. Feel like you're smoking something. Yeah, it's one of the things I like about this. Paul, what about you?
Well, I would have to agree somewhat with Nick that it certainly has helped that it's been sitting in a humidor for a couple of weeks. But I also think that once I got outside my head of what it should have smoked like from the first time, I'm taking it on its own and kind of forgetting about what the other TAAs have smoked like in the past. So I think it's, first of all, construction-wise, it's been spot on.
Yeah.
Burn line has been really, really good. Hasn't wavered at all. The drawer has been incredible. The feel, it's just been excellent.
Excellent.
The drink, Sam, I got to hand it to you, my friend. Unbelievable. Thank you so
Glad to be
much.
of assistance.
I'm getting a lot more of the chocolate notes from this. It's helping to pull out a lot more of the sweetness. It's been very consistent. It hasn't changed. It's very well balanced as well. Not one flavor is overpowering the other. So those earthy wood notes, a little bit of leather. This has been an enjoyable cigar. I'm glad I gave it a second shot.
Dave, how about you?
I'm totally enjoying this cigar. I wasn't really a big fan of the drink. However, the cherry was amazing.
It didn't suck
I had
from-
so much
from
to do with
finishing
that.
it.
He
Yeah.
thought really hard.
You can
to
thank
put that
Italy
cherry
for
in.
those.
Yeah. It soaked up the alcohol really well. It was like I could have a glass full of those cherries. But,
They're dangerous.
The cigar has been absolutely delightful. It's very smooth, definitely creamy. The retrohale is very desirable for my palate. I give this cigar 2 thumbs up. I'm happy I waited.
Well, I'd have to echo what other people have said. This has been a very, very good cigar, very medium-bodied.
Sorry about that.
That's all right.
The black cherry was right in my throat. Excuse me. I really enjoyed it,
cherry,
though.
huh?
Top of the cherry.
Choking on the cherry.
Not, this is not the normal Tatuaje. And, so the first time I had it, I was like, this isn't it. But it's a TAA. It's a special thing. It's trying to create something new, something different. In this case, it's a little bit lighter than your normal Tatuaje. It's a little bit more, on the mild side of medium. And, kudos to them for coming out with something that's very smooth, that's very, very creamy, that's got some really good flavor in it, and that, isn't, right in the wheelhouse of what you expect from Tatuaje. They kind of went a little different way with this. And I thought the pairing was very, very good. I thought the chocolate and the Manhattan really complemented the cigar. I thought the orange peel in the Manhattan also brought out some of the woody notes in the cigar. I thought it was a very, very good pairing. Kudos to Sam, a triumphant return to not just blowing smoke. with
Appreciate
that.
it.
Very, very good. All right, everybody, we're back for part 2 of Not Just Blowing Smoke. And for our pipe review, we are smoking Haunted Bookshop by Cornell and Diehl.
The bookshop that is haunted.
If you had a tin of this stuff, it would say another of the late Bob Ranowski's blends, named in honor of the famous novel written by Christopher Morley. Haunted Bookshop is a Burley and Virginia blend with just a touch of Perique. It is blended by Cornell and Diehl. It's a Burley blend with Burley Perique, Virginia. There's no flavoring in it. It's a coarse cut blend. And we are having a little gin something or other with this.
Situation.
What are we having here, Mr. Sam Van Winkle? Sam!
So I'm going with Savory Savory Gin and Tonic.
Not a Sam Gin and Tonic?
Not a Sam Gin and
You
Tonic.
should change the name to Sam Gin and Tonic.
All right, fine. We're going to call it a Sam Gin and Tonic.
Sam's Savory Gin and Tonic.
So what I did here is I took rosemary and
Gin.
pink peppercorns.
Ooh,
Easy
pink
over there. We'll
peppercorns.
get to the booze. No worries.
Yes,
I
the
took
booze.
rosemary and pink peppercorns, dropped them into a shaker with 2 ounces of beefeater, and then I mashed that up.
I'm a beef eater.
Not crazy. You know, you don't want to totally emulsify anything. I just wanted to let some of that peppercorn through and let some of the rosemary through. You know, if you go too hard on rosemary, it's going to come out tasting like a pot roast, which
Right.
is not what you want to drink.
No, you don't want to
I like pot roast.
Not in a
right?
gin and tonic.
Yeah,
I love me some pot roast.
with a gin and tonic, not in a gin and tonic.
Yes.
He's not sure.
don't
So
know.
then I took cardamom bitters.
Cardamom.
Cardamom, yeah. So
Bitters.
full-blown cardamom cloves sitting in high-proof alcohol to pull that really intense, bitter, earthy flavor out. So we've got some of that in there. And then I've got some of this Underberg.
Underberg!
Wunderbar.
We'll see. I'm not sure that the camera will be able to see that, but a lot of people will recognize it. It is a old-school digestif.
What is a digestif?
So
Helps you
digestifs
digest, man.
or aperitifs. They either prepare your appetite or help you to work through your meal, post-meal. They're ancient, traditional medicine's approach to these sorts of things.
Yes.
Many of them have, in modern years, shown true medicinal value,
Yeah.
Opening up pathways and various things, but they are
Pathways.
widening
Bowels.
bowels. Thank you.
I like that as well.
Makes your life that much easier.
Liquid fiber.
So a little bit of Underberg, and then I've got just a little bit of blood orange liqueur in there with an orange on top. I wanted just a little bit of oranginess to it. It shouldn't be too sweet. I'm hoping nobody's finding it sweet.
You
I
know
just
what
wanted
this
a little
tastes
bit of
like
that
to
in
me?
there.
Almost like a Moscow Mule. Like that gingery...
You're getting that deep spice, almost
Yeah.
like ginger, but
Right.
that's coming from the cardamom instead.
Right. It's
Yeah,
like
the
a
ginger's
light...
absolutely. I can
Yeah, it's,
absolutely pick
it's
that
like a
up.
light Moscow Mule almost. It's,
Right,
it's,
right.
Light
it's
Moscow
unbelievable.
Mule.
Right? Anybody know?
As opposed to a dark Moscow Mule.
Well, a regular Moscow
Or a
Mule.
heavy
don't
one.
judge.
Or a
And this
heavy
would be
one.
like a light Moscow Mule. You know?
Like an overweight Moscow Mule. Those are my favorite.
Those
Mediocre.
are really great.
I don't know if there are many overweight mules in Russia these days.
not in Russia. No. Perhaps other parts of the world, but not
America.
Russia. So, Dave, what do you think of the pairings so far?
I think the pairing is perfect. Perfect pairing.
That's really nice.
yes.
Why, Dave? Why do you like the
I
pairing
think
so
all the
much?
ingredients that Sam just said bring out
Whatever they were.
to bring out
Will
the
you please say something specific?
bring out the natural like nuttiness in the tobacco. It's actually giving it a bit of spice, which I don't remember Haunted Bookshop having.
Haunted.
That's what he said, right?
Yeah. It's
We
that's
said
what I'm getting
haunted.
at.
Phonics.
Yeah, right. George
Haunted.
said that.
Haunted.
Bookshop.
Ooh.
Paul, yourself?
It's hauntingly good.
Well, first of all, this drink is, I would say, is incredibly refreshing. The cardamom and the ginger flavors I'm getting from the drink is bringing out, and I would agree with Dave, it actually is bringing out a little bit more spice. Like, this is the first time I've had this tobacco. I had a few draws for it without the drink. Got some nice fruit from the Virginias, some little bit of earthy wood tones, but with the drink, the sweetness is kind of pared down a little bit, but it is getting a little bit more of that spice.
And especially
really good.
in the retro hail.
Sam, what do you think? How do you think you did?
Not to go off too hard, but I think I actually did really, really well. I'm getting a lot of the same basic profiles from the drink and from the tobacco. That back end spiciness, the a flavor that I've always had trouble describing is what comes from tonic water, the quinine.
Okay.
It's that sort of tart sweetness.
Yeah.
The mouthfeel is sweetness, but the flavor itself is tart. And I'm getting a lot of the same sort of feel from this tobacco. It's really sort of, without drying me out, still being the right amount of peppery spice, right?
Yeah, there is a nice amount of spice in this tobacco here. Nick, what about you? What do you think? I think it's fantastic.
Bravo, Samuel.
Freaking awesome.
Bravo.
Bravo, man. Wonderful.
Halfway down the bowl and almost done my drink.
You just lit up. How can you be halfway down your bowl?
I smoke fast, man. I'm a power smoker, man. I probably didn't pack it enough. But anyways, when I first had the drink, when he brought it over, I had a quick sip, and I'm like, man, I may not think that this is going to go well for me.
If I may cut in for 1 second, the first sip I took of this drink, I didn't like. The very first sip that I took, I didn't like.
Look,
it wasn't right.
Don't get me wrong. I love me some alcohol. The drink in its own was refreshing. It was light. You had that almost that gingery spice in there, like I was saying, that it reminded me of a Moscow Mule.
Yep.
It was crisp, little citrus in there. It was really, really, really well made. But I don't expect anything less from you, Sam.
I appreciate that. Balanced is the word you're looking for, by the way.
Yeah. For
Balanced.
less of words, yes. And then I was like, I don't know. I'm like, it's because most of the time when I'm smoking bookshop, it's here at the shop, or maybe I'm on my way in and out of work. So for me, I taste the tobacco on its own. So for me, it's woody, got a little bit of spice, not really much sweetness that I get from it. And it's just a really well balanced tobacco, light medium. And when I had them together, I was utterly shocked. I was like, okay, well, this is going pretty damn good. The drink is bringing out stuff that I've never tasted in Haunted Bookshop before, and it's really making the smoking of this tobacco really, really pleasurable. For me, it brings it to a whole new level of enjoyment. You know what I mean? It doesn't really fluctuate as far as strength grows. But it's bringing out, like Paul says, bringing out the sweetness in the Virginias. I'm not really getting the woody notes, which I really love, but you're getting that additional spice, and it's making it more a little subtle, but in a good way. So it's rounding off, for me, it's rounding off the tobacco with the drink, and it's sharing both the crispness of not the Christmas, but the crispness.
Do you mean rounding out or rounding off?
Rounding out.
Rounding out.
Yeah. I can't say rounding off, but rounding out.
Rounding out.
Look, it's
Average.
No, it's above average. It's a damn good pairing, and I'm enjoying the bookshop a lot more than what I did before. Bravo to Sam.
And you liked
Appreciate
it
it.
before.
I do.
Yeah.
I did. It was really good when I first had it. It was you recommended it to me, like you recommend most of my tobaccos, and it was, when I first had it, the woodiness and the spice that came through was really catchy for me, and it was just, I was hooked at that point. And with the drink, it opens up like another level of flavor for my palate to enjoy, and it's amazing. I'd swear a whole slew of swear words right now, but I can't. I'm trying to keep it PG.
Thank you. We appreciate that.
You're welcome.
You're so...
So it's amazing. It's an unbelievable pairing.
Now,
thank you, Sam.
Oh, yeah.
Haunted Bookshop has been a favorite of mine for some time, and when we were able to bring it in here at Twins, it has become one of my favorite blends to recommend to people who are wanting to get into pipe smoking, but who are primarily cigar smokers. And one of the reasons for that is that a lot of the flavors in this tobacco are very easy to enjoy as a cigar smoker. Those woody notes, those nutty notes. It's almost like if you were smoking a nice Habano wrapper, cigar, there's a lot of similarities. It's not the same, but there's enough in common with a nice medium-bodied, Habano wrapper kind of cigar to really enjoy this tobacco. And so it's a nice gateway tobacco for cigar smokers to get into pipe smoking. Cigar smokers are not really interested in the dairy cherries or the vanillas or the rum cakes or whatever there might be out there. They're wanting something with some nice flavors that they're familiar with, but not anything that is flavored tobacco. And so this really kind of offers that up. And Haunted Bookshop for me is very nutty. It's very woody, medium-bodied, very smooth. There's no tongue bite with this at all or anything like that. It's a tobacco that's easy to pack. It's easy to light. It's easy to keep lit. And it's very, very enjoyable. This drink, with the peppercorns and the cardamom, bring out a lot more of the perique, which is the spicy component in this tobacco, than you would normally experience. You counter that with the blood orange, which the citrus in that and the sweetness in that really complements the Virginias that are in here. So you have a real dynamic with this drink that is bringing out both the sweetness and the spice, downplaying the nuttiness that you get from the Burleys, but it really brings out some more in the tobacco that you normally would not experience, and I'm really enjoying it. The drink in and of itself is a really nice, refreshing, very kind of, I would say almost bright kind of a drink. It's a summer kind of, I need something refreshing kind of drink.
Yeah. But
it's got some spice and oomph to it because of the cardamom, because of the pepper, that, like a normal gin and tonic or a vodka tonic just isn't going to give.
I could have this in like 8 o'clock in the morning. It's amazing.
You could have it at 7 o'clock in the morning. What are you kidding?
Oftentimes,
Probably have it at 6 o'clock in the morning. What am I kidding?
What's the difference, right, at that point? With an average gin and tonic, at least what it evokes for me is a nice lunch, a nice drink with your lunch, having a salad in the sun. This drink
this is a
still
brunch. This is a
still
brunch
hits,
drink.
Well, right, this drink still hits some of those notes.
Yeah.
But you could also enjoy it with pancakes.
Oh, yeah.
Or you could also enjoy it after the sun goes down. It's getting a little bit cool out, and you still have that sort of savoriness and that booze character that's going to keep you warm, right?
Yeah, it's very nice. I think for me, this is again, and this is the great thing, Sam, about having you on the podcast,
As well as Kendra.
as well as Kendra, but Sam, you tend to take cocktails in a direction that the normal person doesn't think of going.
That's
when
that's the best praise I can
When we
get.
have
we-
Sam
we
on the
never
show, we go
quite-
on an adventure.
Yeah, we never quite know what we're going to expect when we have Sam on the show.
He's like our own little Indiana
And
Jones.
In this case, the journey has just been incredibly pleasant, and it's great to try new things, and we're always trying new things with Sam. It's never the same thing twice.
I get it when you guys said, I think it was on Friday, that you guys said that Sam was going to be on the show. I was excited, but I was scared at the same time because I know the last time was that cocktail that was like 400-year-old recipe that monks had, and they made it.
We drank chartreuse last time.
Yes,
Yeah.
and it was, when I first had that, I was like, oh, that doesn't taste the
That's
greatest.
how you learn, right?
But after a couple of sips, I was like, okay,
you start to appreciate what it has to offer.
So I was really excited to have Sam back on the show, because I know he's gonna pull something out of the clouds, and he was gonna be like, "Hey guys, I just researched this an hour ago, and we're gonna do this, okay?" So for me, I was excited. Not that you did do that, but I'm just saying
every time I did that today. I came in. For all of you at home, I came in at 6 o'clock today. We started about 8:30.
Yeah.
And I whipped up this drink when I walked in. I sat down with, I knew the tasting notes for our tobacco, and I knew what we had for ingredients. I knew I wanted a peppery gin, right? So I went with Beefeater. I knew I wanted something that could hold up to a peppery flavor base. You sit around and play with a couple things. I came across the cardamom, which is really it. Is really what's balancing this out. But like anything else, it can be done in a limited amount of time if you know what you're looking for.
Sure.
Just like with picking out tobacco, just like with picking out food, just like anything else.
Yep.
So, and then you guys are very open to whatever. I mean, you're gonna drink it. You're gonna drink it when I bring it down.
I'm very open. I love it.
But it's really it's nice and refreshing to have people sat in front of me who are gonna drink what I make, and at the very least attempt to enjoy it, right? And that's a really nice thing for a bartender, to have people who are just at the very least going to attempt to enjoy these things, because then I can spread out, I can do weird things like this.
And you trust us as a panel to give you our honest opinion about your drink.
Right, absolutely.
If it's sensational, if it's okay, it's pretty good, but it's not our thing, and what I mean?
We had a week where you guys kind of enjoyed it, but then you kind of told me after, like, that was bad, bud. You didn't do so good. And that's fine. I totally understand. I totally understand. That's the way it is. And, I am obviously not at the top of the game in the world by far, but I have a pretty good understanding. So I'm still very much in the learning phase. So every time anybody tells me this is the best thing I've ever had, or this is the worst thing I've ever had, that's news to me. I need it. I need that information to find out how many people are enjoying.
Well, we're very privileged to have you with us and mixing up the cocktails that you have done for us.
And while I'm at it, I'll toss out Kendra too, because she also happens to be a good mixologist, but she's also very good at letting me do whatever I want to do with the booze. Yeah. She's not about like, oh, that's not going to sell, get out of here. Like, she'll let me try. She'll let me try it. She'll let me see if I can sell it. She'll let me see if people will drink it.
But Kendra's more how I look at it. Kendra's more of a tacticianist when she makes her cocktails, and she's very precise. She loves her garnish. She loves that air fryer.
Garnish.
The garnish.
She needs to make sure that everyone's going to go out exactly the same.
Garnish.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what I mean? She's more of a, like I said, she's more of a tactician.
Tactician really is the word.
When she approaches the alcohol and making a cocktail, you're just kind of the crazy wizard.
I'm going to make the best and most ridiculous drink I possibly can every time.
Absolutely.
Every time.
But
can't help it.
It's something that, for me, loving all alcohols, rum, tequila, scotch, bourbon, whiskeys.
I'm the least worried about you when I bring a drink down.
Like, you can please me with ice cube and some scotch and I'll be fine. You know what I mean? So
it is. It's a good balance between me and Kendra, though. With me just trying to whip out the farthest ends and the wackiest and the funkiest and trying to get people to try new things, whereas
she reels you in.
She does. She totally reels me in and goes like, nobody's going to drink that. Change this out for this, and we can sell it. Like, okay, you know what? You're right. And at the end of the day, that's what matters, right?
She keeps you honest. That's nice,
Make the good drinks that people want to try, and make drinks that are actually going to sell. So we have a really good balance here, and she's sweet as can be. So that helps.
She is. She's awesome.
Haunted Bookshop here at Twins is sold in bulk. This is another bulk tobacco that we're reviewing here, and that I think brings up something that is a good topic to talk about, which is, should you get bulk or should you get tins?
Ooh.
What's the difference
Or a bulky
of things? And especially if something is sold both, which is the case with Haunted Bookshop. Cornell and Diehl sells it as tins. They also sell it as bulk. The plus with tins is that they're kind of easy to carry around.
Yeah.
You know, you don't have to worry about it. It's got the nice lid on it. In Cornell and Diehl's case, it's a, you know, the pop top lid, plastic top. Other brands have the screw top, you know, tin to them. 2 ounces is generally what things come in, or 50 grams. So they're easy to carry. They're easy to keep with you. I have a bag downstairs with a number of different tobaccos in it. They're all tins, and that's basically why I have them. Is it's easy to carry. That's very compact, easy to go. The plus with getting bulk is that you're not having to pay for the packaging, and that makes the tobacco incredibly inexpensive to get versus getting the tin. Now, one of the things I often get asked is there a difference? Is the stuff that's in the tin a different quality, or a higher quality blend than what you get in the bulk? Or is the bulk the leftover stuff, the stuff that didn't make the cut, and therefore it goes in the bag? The answer to that is no. Tobacco is all blended at the same time. Doesn't matter what company it is. If a company is making tobacco, and in this case talking Cornell and Diehl, all that tobacco is blended at the same time. Some of it is sent to be packaged in tins. Some of it is sent to be packaged in bulk. So you're not getting a different blend, or the bad stuff in the bulk and the good stuff in the tin. It's all the same stuff. So, you know, when it comes to, you know, things like Cornell and Diehl and Haunted Bookshop, which comes in both tins and bulk, for twins, I decided to bring in the bulk because people could enjoy it more at a lesser price. So if you're looking to get tobacco and you're looking to like try it, but you don't know whether or not, you know, you might want 2 ounces is a good amount of stuff to try. Kind of like cigars. You know, you want to try more than one bowl. You want to smoke, you know, a certain amount of this stuff and if you have different pipes, you might want to try it in different sizes or shapes or types of pipes to see how you like it. So getting a tin may be a good thing to do. If you end up putting it in a regular rotation with you, then getting it in bulk where you could buy a bigger quantity of it for less cost is a lot better. So, you know, as you think about it, you know, getting if the option is there to get it in bulk and get it in tins, it's easier to carry it around in tins. Tins are great gifts for people. It already comes packaged together and everything. It's easy to store. If you're going to cellar it right away, you can just take the tin, throw it in the back of wherever you keep your tobacco, and let it age some. Now with bulk tobacco, you can put into a mason jar, shut it up, label it, put it in, and that'll age just as well that way. But you can, you know, the big plus about getting bulk tobacco is, since you're not having to pay all the costs that are necessary with doing the tinning and buying the tin and the labels and everything, it's a whole lot less expensive. So for us, you know, a tin of Cornell and Diehl 2 ounce tin at Twins, if we, you know, charge what we do for other Cornell and Diehl tins, would be $13.50 here at the store. If you get 2 ounces that are bulk here, you're talking about $6.95. So you're literally talking about half the cost for the same amount of tobacco. So That's something that I've decided to do here. If something is offered in bulk, generally speaking, I'll try and get it in bulk here, because that way people can enjoy more of it for less money.
Yeah.
And that's one of the great things about pipe tobacco, versus cigars, is it's you can get a whole lot more tobacco and enjoy it a whole lot more than you can with a cigar. It's not uncommon. Like, one of my favorite cigars is the Roma Craft Neanderthal. That's $12 for $13.50. I can get a tin of Cornell and Diehl pipe tobacco, and whereas the Neanderthal will be gone inside of 2 hours, that tin of pipe tobacco is going to be able to be enjoyed a dozen, 15, maybe 20 times before it's gone, depending on the size pipe that you're using. And so you get to enjoy it a whole lot more. And then if you get it in bulk, like the Haunted Bookshop here, now you're even talking more value for the money and everything. So some good stuff there. What are our continuing thoughts on the Haunted Bookshop here? Are you guys liking it? I mean, Paul, this is your first experience with it. Yeah. What are you thinking? Is this a tobacco that you would go to again? What are your thoughts?
I actually would, and I've been trying to compare what you said about this being something that you would be offering a cigar smoker. Mm-hmm. And I definitely picked up some of the similarities to that.
Yeah.
The earthiness, a little bit of the sweetness. What I've also picked up, and I don't know if this is just my palate, right now or whatever, maybe it's a little bit of the drink, but I gave myself a little bit of a break from the drink to try to see if I can pick up some of the flavors of the tobacco on its own. And I've actually picked up a little bit, almost like a nutty caramel flavor. Mm-hmm. I don't know if that's anyone else is picking up.
Burley is very nutty.
Yeah.
And very sweet. Those caramelly or cocoa-y flavors.
Yeah, caramel more than anything else.
Yeah. That can come from the Burley.
Yeah, absolutely. It's really it's a really, really good tobacco. I'm really enjoying this one.
Nick, what about yourself?
Well, this is like my 100th time having this tobacco. And it's just a wonderful smoke, especially with the drink going back and forth. Still getting some nice light spice that I usually get from it. But the drink is bringing out more of sweetness. And it's wonderful. The only thing that is going to suck later is when I'm smoking this and I don't have the drink with me.
We'll get you some cardamom bitters for home.
Yeah, sure, we could do that.
I got you, buddy. The rest is very
But
cheap.
it's
A little Nick to go bag.
The rest is up to you.
a little
Nick
nightcap.
to go.
A little nightcap, you know what I mean? So definitely, for me, it definitely a buy. I always recommend this when somebody's looking for a step up from a lot of the aromatics and stuff like that we carry downstairs, like the Derry Cherry or the Autumn Evening, which is a big seller for us. So I love this. I love this tobacco. This is really good stuff.
Dave?
I've loved Haunted Bookshop for a long time. I think it's going especially well with the pairing. The nuttiness, I feel like, is more prominent with like the earth. I'm still enjoying the fact that there's this new spice with it that was never really there before. I'm very impressed with it. Good job, Sam.
Cheers, man.
Bravo.
Paul, you have some cigar news for us.
I do. It seems like New York is getting hit with something all the time.
Yeah.
First, it was the coronavirus.
Well, actually, first it was the Irish. 70% Irish. For anybody listening out there, 70% Irish. I assure you I was one of those families. I'm not trying to cause any trouble here.
Oh, boy.
Okay. Yeah.
And looks like this fall, New York's going to get hit with a cigar tax again.
Oh,
So
boy.
this was an article that was in Cigar Aficionado last month. So the New York State lawmakers passed a $177 billion budget for 2021 that includes, among many items, tax relief for some small business owners. For New York tobacconists, however, many of which qualify as small businesses, that relief may not be enough to overcome the fact that the budget will also significantly raise cigar taxes. Some fear this change could drive stores out of business in the Empire State. The tax rate of 75% of the cigar's wholesale price, one of the highest cigar tax rates in the United States, will take effect on October 1st. The 75% cigar tax is not new. It has actually been New York's official rate since 2010, when it was raised from 46%. But due to a loophole that was passed in December of 2013, retailers have had the option to calculate the wholesale price themselves if an established price or manufacturer's invoice price is not available. They've been able to use the industry standard adjustment ratio, which is currently 38%. The New York State budget, which was passed by lawmakers on April 2nd and signed by Governor Cuomo on April 3rd, removes this adjustment ratio clause, meaning the tax rate will jump to 75% of the cigar's wholesale price, a steep increase. For cigar smokers, it means cigars become more expensive. Now, according to James Wiedenbeck, who's the general manager of Tinderbox in Williamsville, New York, the new tax could have devastating effects on New York cigar shops. Wiedenbeck is not only a cigar retailer, but also the secretary of the New York Tobacconist Association, an organization of tobacco retailers that work to secure and protect the rights of cigar shop owners, which are roughly 90% single store and family-owned establishments. The NYTA estimates that 25 to as much as 50% of the current New York tobacconists will go out of business because of this tax change. The tax is punitive and puts New York small businesses out of business. The increased tax rates also will eventually be paid by the consumers, and they also fear that the consumers will turn to alternative sources such as online retailers in neighboring states with lower cigar taxes to get their smokes.
Oh, they're right. Excuse me. They're right about that.
Yep.
They're right about that.
Yep.
So, to kind of summarize, while the cigar tax in New Hampshire has officially been 75% for some time, because of a loophole in how the law was written, the tax was actually about half that on the cigars. Basically, that loophole is being removed, which makes the cigar tax legitimately 75% on the wholesale cost of the cigar, which dramatically increases the amount of that a cigar will cost, and makes New York one of the highest tax states in the country. And, you know, my question after hearing that is, you know, what is New York thinking? You know, I have, you know, living in Massachusetts like I do, you know, Massachusetts has attempted to raise the cigar tax in its state. Currently, it's gone to 40%. And the goal, of course, is to raise revenue for the state. And so the assumption is if, you know, if cigars bring about X number of dollars in the state, if we tax it this amount, we can count on getting so much money in next year's budget. The problem is it never works. It never works because people will always find a way to save the money by going online, by going to neighboring states. You know, we are really fortunate here in New Hampshire to not have a cigar tax. There's only 3 states in the country, or actually, you know, 2 states and province, right? You know, Washington D.C. that don't have a cigar tax, or no, Pennsylvania doesn't either. Am I correct
Right.
with that?
Yeah.
Yeah. And Pennsylvania, Florida, New Hampshire, and Washington D.C. Ironically. But everywhere else, there's tax on.
We can't have the
cigar
senators paying
products.
tax on their cigars now, Dan.
But Twins ships. Anywhere in the country, and New York people, if you're listening, you will probably save money, even if you had to pay the shipping costs. And we cover the shipping costs if it's over $150, right?
Yep.
Right, Paul? But even if you had to pay, it would probably end up being less money at 75% for you to get your handful of cigars and get them delivered to your house than it would be to go to New York. And who isn't going to do that? I don't understand why people think this is going to make money for the state.
They're gonna lose money.
They're going to lose money because they're going to make less money from the tax than they will have. I'm willing to bet that at the end of 2021, if this actually goes through, that the state of New York will actually bring in less money from cigars than they did this year, with the tax effectively being about half of what it is now.
Yeah. Well, like Paul said, it's going to close a lot of businesses, a lot of shops. So all that, all the revenue that they were already getting, they're not going to get it anymore.
Yeah. And I mean, I'd add to that people in general, I consider myself as reasonable as they come, but people in general, including myself, will pay an extra 2, 3, 4, 5% if it means that they're just going and getting their product and bringing it home instead of, this product cost me $30. Oh wait, it actually cost me $54 with this tax. Mm-hmm. People are, in my experience, are willing to hop in the car and go for a 2-hour drive instead of paying that tax, even though it might cost them $4 more. Mm-hmm. They did something with that time. That it cost that amount of money for some reason, or whatever it is. And taxes, agree with it or not, often don't register in that way.
Right. A great example of that. I have some friends who listen to this show in Canada. Now Canada has a 100% cigar tax.
Ooh.
Okay.
But a bit of a cigar culture too, as well. Don't they?
A bit of cigar culture. And I'm told by one of these friends of mine that Charter Oak cigars, which we sell anywhere from $5 to $6 a stick in Canada, end up being somewhere between $15 and $20 a stick after all the taxes and stuff goes. And they will drive down into the States, once a year. They'll get their cigars, let's say Charter Oak, right? And they'll bring those cigars back and they'll pay their 100% tax, and they'll still be $10 less a stick than if they had bought them in Canada because of all of the costs of importing into the country and stuff like that.
And they got a day trip out of it. So, I cannot believe for a minute that this is all about health concerns or anything like that. Well, if it was
because if it was about health concerns, you would just outlaw it. Right?
Across the board.
Across the board. If it was really that bad. But the problem is the science doesn't really back all that up. And then there are other things where you would think the science, would be worse. Like take alcohol, for instance.
Right.
There's a whole lot of science out there that talks about how drinking a lot is bad for your liver. It's bad, for your brain. You can't drive heavy equipment when you've been drinking a lot.
You can't drive anyway.
You
can't drive, period.
You can't, if you get caught driving while you're intoxicated, in New Hampshire, you can lose your license for, what, is it a year? off
Yeah,
the
they don't play around in
They don't
in
play
New
around.
Hampshire.
They don't play around. Now, you don't get any of that with smoking a cigar.
No.
You know, I don't know anyone who's, smoked 3 cigars, gone home and passed out on their bed, beat their wife, or, spun out on the car on the way home. None of that stuff. And yet, there's no problem with that. But let's tax cigars 75%. It just seems very arbitrary and very punitive.
Yeah.
Well, think about, and I'm going to circle around to be agreeing with you, but from a purely financial perspective, you think about cigars as opposed to alcohol, and you think nobody's ever gotten in trouble, generally speaking,
Right.
and they're addicted to it, just like they are with anything else,
Right.
With alcohol or with cigarettes, obviously it's not as intense, but whatever. And from that perspective, you look at it and go, this is guaranteed money, right? These people are not going to stop for any reason that we come up with. That doesn't make it right by any means, obviously, but it does. If you're looking at it from a purely sort of math point of view, you can see why people who want more money to help people better, again, better or worse, none of this is me talking politically, but better or worse, we have more money to help people, and these people are not going to stop buying their cigars. You can see where the train of thought goes to, why not tax them more, right? Works pretty well in a country, but in the United States, where we have states who determine most of their own laws, people are going to go over the state line, and I don't know that we've figured that out so much. You know what I mean?
I can remember as a kid, like one of the, or more or less like a younger adult, I guess, is I would, our friends would get together and we'd pull up and we'd go into New Hampshire to buy cigarettes because it was just so much cheaper, and
that's why I went to college in New Hampshire.
It was that was just like the thing, my community of friends would get together and one of us would go to take a day trip to New Hampshire and buy cigarettes for everyone else. That was it. That was just a thing.
We're to go back 10 years. How old are you approximately?
45.
45, right. So my mom is 56. 56. So when she was 18, it was the drinking age in New York State. I'm from Massachusetts. Anyone out there? The drinking age in Massachusetts was already 21 by the time she turned 18, but the drinking age in New York State was 18. So everybody from Berkshire County, Massachusetts, which is right on the New York line, would go over the hill and drink in the next state over because they're humans. Because obviously that was going to happen. There's there's no way around it. And my mother isn't a drinker. She wasn't really a wild child. She was just a normal kid. And she was doing it. So I think from a normal perspective, as a guy who's within X number of miles of a state border, they're going to hop the border to buy. Because why wouldn't they?
Right,
why wouldn't you?
Exactly. Yeah.
Why wouldn't you? I would do it.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with doing it. Yeah. Right? So
Yep.
you're not losing morally. Right. You're not losing face. You're not losing anything but time. And if that's all if that's fine, hop to another state. Why wouldn't you? Right?
Good point.
You ready for a would you rather question?
I'm ready, Dan. I'm ready.
You or Dave? I don't know. You can cut that if need be.
All right. We'll start with Dave. I already know what I think he's going to say. Dave, would you rather
No.
give up bathing for a month or give up the internet for a month?
Oh.
Well.
Jesus.
I mean, come on now.
That he would give up bathing for a year.
Yep. There we go.
Versus a month. Yeah. No, you're probably right. I mean, I probably would too, though.
Absolutely. That's why God invented deodorant.
And
I'll
cologne.
go outside
Thanks,
when it
God.
rains. Internet.
Nick,
Oh, man.
bathing for a month or internet for a month? Which would you rather give up?
Because I'm married and my wife is...
That's better than Netflix?
Well, I got a lot of stuff to do around the house.
No, I was agreeing with you.
I got chickens and turkeys now that I have to take care of. Yeah, I got
fowl.
chickens and
That's good.
turkeys that I got to take care
No
of.
ticks in the yard.
Nick in the
Exactly.
foul life.
Because my wife is really, really big on hygiene.
She's pretty too.
I love my wife. She's a beautiful, beautiful lady. That's my trophy wife right there. And I would probably have to give up the internet for a month, man.
You probably would too.
I wouldn't mind. To be honest, I wouldn't mind because during this whole lockdown thing that we've experienced here in New Hampshire, we haven't really been watching Netflix or Prime or Plex or TV for that matter. What we've been doing is, because she's home, she's kind of putting me to work, and we're going outside in the yard and we're planting, and we're improving the chicken coop and cleaning up the yard and doing a bunch of stuff that we wouldn't normally be doing. So technically for the last month I haven't been really doing too much on the internet. So
Except when you're here.
except when I'm here, probably. But I would have to give up the internet for the month, man.
Sam?
Typical married man, Nick.
Yeah.
It comes down to, I love a shower as much as the next person.
But he
I really do.
He loves his bed more than that.
At the same time, it depends entirely if I was off work. If it was last month, no question, I would go without showering and not even think about
Well,
it.
you slept on last month. So you did.
So he didn't shower. So he
Well, no, I
didn't.
did. I kept myself clean because it's not an either or situation
You gotta
here.
get the
I wasn't
Doritos
eating
off.
that. I wasn't showering every day by any means. I'm not a crazy person, but I think I could. That's a tough one. But no, it's not. It comes down to I have nobody to please in my life. I really don't, and I'm okay with that. I'm happy with that. No big deal. I'm not like lonely or whatever. But unless, hey, out there, ladies, I'll give you my phone number later. But
He's a single man.
but
Sam the
I
barman,
really
up
think
for grabs.
if like at home, what do I care? I'll go without a shower for 2 weeks because I want to watch House. Come on.
Who also doesn't shower?
We can go over all the shows I watched while I was off, but that's a long list. And I think it paid off for me. I learned some things. I enjoyed some things, and my mental health really is better than it's ever been because I was off work for a while, and I enjoy work. But there's something about just waking up and going,
I don't have to shower today.
I don't have to. Anything. I don't have a wife to please.
Borderlands
I don't have
3.
a dog. I don't have a cat. I don't have a garden. I can just get up and do exactly whatever I want.
I don't have chickens.
Well, I
Hey,
like
No
chickens.
rooster.
They're
I
fine
love-
pets.
I love my chickens and my turkeys.
Yeah, we'll talk about the fowl later.
All
All right.
Paul, I'm very interested in what you have to say. You've been very thoughtful as all this has gone on.
Paul's
Seems
gonna
like you're giving us a lot of thought.
He knows the rest of us.
Come
are
on,
full of
Father
shit.
Paul. Come on,
no
Father
shower for Paul.
Paul. What does Pablo Ventura want?
I'm old school, and I could easily give up the internet for a month.
Ah,
But there's no way. There's no way I'm giving up.
old school was
No
giving up
way.
bathing too. People
Well,
didn't bathe
no. I mean,
for like a while.
I do have someone at home I have to please.
There
It's
you
not
go.
my dog.
He's gonna bathe
Right.
once in a
My
while.
dog.
Fair enough.
Yeah, no,
gotta run that
I
bath water.
I have to
Beside
shower
my
at
dog.
least once a day because I'll go home tonight and take a shower after being in this environment for 14 hours. So
Yeah.
I mean, you smell disgusting.
thank you.
That's why you're sitting in the middle of us.
That's
We met your wife. She
why I'm
was the one
sitting
who
under
wanted
the-
you to get this wonderful job.
that's why I'm
It's
sitting
okay.
under the open window.
There you go. That's right. So all the smell just goes right out.
No, for me, I'd probably give up the internet myself.
There you go.
I think.
Wow, what a surprise! This is going across generational lines around here.
Yeah, I'd rather do that. Oh my goodness. Before we give our final thoughts, I want you all to know that next week I'm really excited that we're having Eric Wentworth from Hammer and Sickle back on the show.
Yeah.
He's a
Yay.
great friend of the podcast, a
Yep.
great friend of Twins. We're really pumped. And along with Eric, the vice president of Hammer and Sickle, in charge of the cigars for them, we're also going to have the other half of Hammer and Sickle, John Considine, who is involved with the vodka end of Hammer and Sickle. Hammer and Sickle is a vodka and cigar company, and John is going to be joining us as well. We're going to have Hammer and Sickle vodka cocktails on the show, and we're going to, for the cigar, enjoy the Hammer and Sickle Tradicion Toro, and I'm really, really excited about that.
Yeah, it's a good cigar.
It's a great cigar, great mild to medium cigar. Anybody could smoke it. It's going to be good. We're going to have lots of stories about how that cigar came about, and how that blend came together and why. And John was there for all of that, and so I'm very excited about having both of them on the show next week. Also, we're going to, for our pipe tobacco, be doing something that will be brand new to Twins, at least since I've been here, and that is McBaron Navy Flake.
Yes.
And
Awesome.
I'm very excited about that. So make sure that you get yourself some Hammer and Sickle, the Tradicion Toro, and McBaron Navy Flake if you want to smoke with us. And that having been said, of what's going to be coming out next Monday, what's the final verdict here on the Haunted Bookshop by Cornell and Diehl? Dave.
I've always been a big fan of Haunted Bookshop. I love the innate nuttiness you get from it.
The innate nuttiness.
I love the pairing was masterfully done, Sam.
Glad to be of service.
Yep, it brought out a spice that I had never found before in the pipe tobacco. Again, bringing back to where, it's good to try things more than once with more than one thing, because you never know where it's going to bring you, especially with Sam. So 2 thumbs up for me.
Paul.
The Hyatt or a dark alley. There's no telling with Sam where he's going to bring
Or
it.
both. Dark alley behind the eye.
I really enjoyed this tobacco. I got what you were saying about comparing this with cigar smokers too, or at least something that they could turn to if they want to get similar characteristics. So I got that earthy wood tones. I agree with Dave on the spice. Got that as well. I still have picked up in the last few. I've burned through the whole thing now, so it's no longer. But the nutty, almost caramel flavors were there too, which was a really good surprise. I haven't had that in a tobacco yet. I would give this 2 thumbs up. This has been a really, really, really pleasurable smoke.
Sam, how did you like it, and how it went with your drink?
I liked it quite a lot. I'm not. We've talked about this a number of times, but I'm not a big flavored tobacco smoker. I'm not a big cigar smoker. I'm not a big pipe smoker. I'm unfortunately a cigarette smoker, so the tobacco that I generally get is not great. It's American spirit, so it's better than some, but I really got a very enjoyable experience out of this. It was smooth and just the right amount of sweetness. I got some fun layering in there as I inhaled and then exhaled. I got a couple different layers of flavor. Some things really worked. It worked really well with this drink, which
I think so.
I had a feeling it was going to, but it worked really, really better than I thought it would. This drink turned out better than I thought. And we talked about it. I had kind of whipped it up,
Right.
as I do with most things, but this one really, really worked. And the tobacco is very pleasant. It's very accessible. A lot of times with talking about flavor profiles and what you get out of various things as expert smokers or expert drinkers, whatever it is, you tend to sort of overshoot, and you can taste things that people simply can't because they don't have the time in it. But I think this tobacco itself the flavors are very accessible. I think you can smoke and have a couple hits and get through it and find those flavors that we're talking about. It's not like you have to really sit on it and work through it to get to those things. The flavors were really right on the tip of the nose, which was really nice. Cool. And yeah, like I said, it went really great with the cocktail. So I'm happy as can be.
Cool. Nick?
Fantastic. I'm done both of the tobacco and the drink, which is, again, not a surprise to anybody.
No, not at all.
No surprise at all.
Yeah, they were both very good. The drink allowed the tobacco to kind of come alive a little bit more than what I'm usually experiencing when you're just smoking it alone. So a lot of the nice sweeter notes wasn't as spicy as I remembered it, but it kind of was there a little bit. A little bit complex, a little bit more complex than it usually is with the drink. And it's going to be really sad when I have to smoke this without the drink.
I'll get you the recipe, Nick.
It's going to be really sad. But it's Sam hit it out of the ballpark.
Yeah.
He did a home run on this one for me. This is great. Great
both
pairing.
cocktails, I think, went really, really well.
I appreciate it. I really do.
Yeah.
Thank you, Sam.
Anytime that I get to see what I like to do, it reinforced. I appreciate it very much from all of you. Especially when they're free, by the way. Especially when you get paid
That's
for
even
them.
better.
That's even better.
Well, we're
That's
very
even
grateful
better.
that we're able to do that for the podcast. Yeah,
We've got a good thing going.
kudos to
Yeah.
Kurt for allowing us to.
Yeah,
to
absolutely.
do that.
Definitely. Thank you.
Always a shout out to
Kurt.
the owner, Kurt Kendall.
Yep.
Good
Yes,
man.
sir.
Yep.
He's been good to me. As far as I know, he's been good to the rest of you, too.
Yep.
Absolutely.
As far as you know.
As far as I know.
as you know.
How did
All right.
it go last week with Mr. Kurt Kendall?
That was 2 weeks ago. It went very well. He was very, very good. We had plenty of questions for him, and if any of you missed it, you can go back and listen to that episode or watch that episode. It was very, very good, and Kurt does not often do longer interviews. He's very much a very private person. He doesn't like being in the limelight. You'll often see him kind of commenting in shows that are going on, on Facebook or Zoom or things like that. But it's not so common to see him being the person who's fielding questions and stuff like that. And if you want to know about Kurt and about the 724 brand and about twins, go back and look at that episode. It was very, very good. And we all learned some stuff that we did not know. And that's saying something. I mean, we work with the man.
Yep.
He really is. I mean, he's both well-spoken and very, very knowledgeable on what he likes. And this whole thing from the bar down to the cigar shop is absolutely his baby.
Yeah.
And he loves it here. He loves it here, and he loves people enjoying his space. So
Yep.
getting him on a show like this and getting him to open up a little bit about what he likes and what he's,
What he's
he's
passionate
pointing you in the
about,
right
yeah.
direction. He really is. I mean,
absolutely.
there's no question that he is pointing you in the right direction for booze and cigars. He knows what he's talking about. It's worthwhile for
Yeah,
sure.
absolutely.
And that, people, is not just blowing smoke. You've been listening to Not Just Blowing Smoke, the podcast that brings the wealth of knowledge, expertise, and fun of Twins Smoke Shop, New England's premier smoke shop, right to you, wherever you are, whenever you want it. You can find us at our website, notjustblowingsmoke.com, and keep in touch with us on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Instagram at Not Just Blowing Smoke. Thanks for listening, everybody. And that is Not Just Blowing Smoke.
Rolling with the top down,